Before we get into the podcast, make sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at This Strange World Podcast, and on Twitter at This Strange Pod.
Welcome to This Strange World. I'm Gavin.
I'm Leah.
And I'm Chris.
And today we're talking about conspiracy theories. Ooh, we're coming for you, BuzzFeed Unsolved. Leah, you've got a fun conspiracy for us to talk about today. I don't know a lot about this. I know the basic amount, but I'm interested in learning more. So Leah, tell us what we're going to talk about today.
So today we're going to talk about the Titanic conspiracy theories.
Ooh.
Now, there are a few out there,
Leo?
right?
Leonardo
Some of them are
DiCaprio?
known, but some of them are a little bit unknown and not as well discovered or heard of, so I'm going to talk about those.
Ooh, looking forward
So
to
we
it.
all know the Titanic, but these theories will be pretty cool.
Ooh.
So the RMS Titanic was built on March 31st, 1909, and was part of the White Star Line Company. On April 10th, 1912, the Titanic set sail from Southampton, England, to New York. She weighed a record-breaking 46,000 tons and carried around 15,000 workers just to build her. The Titanic had an estimated cost of $7.5 million in 1912, but with today's inflation rate, now she costs roughly $400 million to construct.
Wow, that's like a superhero movie's worth of money to build a ship.
Right?
I was gonna say $7 million. That's nothing now. I'd be like, that's like a regular boat.
Wow.
now.
Sadly, the Titanic met its worst fate.
It did?
On April 14th.
Oh man, I haven't heard about
right?
Spoiler alert. I didn't know about
Spoiler,
this.
Wait, I didn't see the movie yet.
I didn't too.
Spoiler alert. Too soon. All right, sorry, continue.
So, on April 14th, 1912 to April 15th, 1912, the Titanic sank. After 4 hours had passed, many lives were lost, and the Carpathia arrived on set to rescue the people stranded at sea.
Wait, so correct me if I'm wrong. So the Titanic was like a really nice ship. Like they kind of had their act together. They had a lot of people working on it.
Yeah, it was a big
Why
deal.
didn't everyone live? Like, what? Like you hear like a ton of people died on the Titanic. Like, why didn't everyone make it off the ship if they had everything like kind of locked down?
So, Bruce Ismay was the owner of the Titanic and the chairman of the White Star Line, and he could have had 64 lifeboats, which would have saved everyone on that ship, but instead he didn't like how that looked because it looked too cluttered. He decided to then only have 20 lifeboats, which would carry only about half of the total passengers and crew.
20 instead of
So they had
64?
20 lifeboats.
That's
Yeah.
like
They had 20 lifeboats on an ocean liner.
that seems like a very Trump
Mhm,
mentality
yeah.
of like, it doesn't look good. Just give it half.
It did.
I guess
This ship
it
is
cared,
unsinkable.
Very cheap.
exactly. They cared more about, I think, style than safety.
Yeah.
But anyway, now let's get into the conspiracy theories. So the first conspiracy theory is a mummy's curse doomed the Titanic.
Ooh,
One of the
crossover.
passenger, right? A mummy?
Mummy.
Are we expecting another like mummy movie about like
Like a
Titanic?
Scooby-Doo?
I hope not.
No, I'm thinking like like the one about like the Dragon King or
The
something.
ones that have
like
not
the
been
Dragon
successful.
Emperor. The ones that have
One of
been
the most
highly
successful movies of all
yes.
time crossovered with
Yeah.
a very much not successful movie. I would love to see that franchise. Anyway, Leah, tell us about this mummy's
Wait,
curse.
go on.
So one of the passengers who went down with the Titanic was William Stead. He was a British editor who subscribed to the early 20th century spiritualism and had spent the past several years claiming a cursed mummy was cursing and mysteriously destructing London and just bringing disaster to London. But on board the Titanic, Stead happily repeated his tale of the mummy's curse again and again to passengers. And after the
This guy
ship...
sounds like a whack job.
So he's just saying that he thought the ship was cursed?
Yeah, he's saying, "Oh, there's a mummy on this ship. It's cursed. It's cursed." And he was just causing more
So
anxiety.
this was before it crashed, though.
Mm-hmm.
So before
Yeah.
the ship even
Well,
went
they
out,
say
there was a
the
guy
mummy
saying...
has-
Who was saying this?
His name was William Stead. He was a British editor.
Oh. That he was
I
like,
can just
oh,
imagine him.
there's a mummy, it's going to curse the ship?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's cursed the ship, basically.
Oh.
I
So
can just
The
imagine him
mummy
going
has
around
cursed
like.
the ship. The mummy is on the ship, and it's cursed it, and we're all doomed.
I can just imagine him like going around the dining room, like, "Hey, you enjoying the chicken? By the way, this ship is cursed by a mummy."
by the way, you're eating
By
ghosts.
the way.
Just so you're aware.
Just so you're aware.
There's a mummy curse.
It's interesting that before the ship, like anything bad, like for all they knew, the ship was going to be fine. And there was like that it would be fine. But like the fact that a conspiracy comes out afterwards that like this guy was suspicious of the ship. Because this was supposed to be like the Great Voyage or whatever. Like, wasn't it supposed to? It was like the whole ship is just that it was like a big deal.
It was like the ship at the time.
It was the ship of ships.
It is interesting though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
So yeah, he had gone around to all these other passengers. And then after the ship sank, a survivor recounted his story to the New York World, which is a magazine or something, or newspaper.
Whatever.
And the media picked it up. The next month, the Washington Post ran the headline, "Ghost of the Titanic, Vengeance of Hoodoo Mummy Followed Man Who Wrote Its History."
That's actually interesting, though, that he had a feeling that the ship was going to go down, and it actually did go down.
Yeah, but he's like, saying, it went down because of a mummy.
I mean, but still, though. Like,
still, it's like a strange coincidence.
Burns says some people linked the mummy's curse to Egyptian artifacts that survivor and hero Margaret Brown really did take with her on the Titanic to deliver to a museum in Denver. In other versions of the story, the mummy was actually aboard the Titanic because the British Museum had sold it to an American who was shipping it home. But the truth is this so-called unlucky mummy is still at the British Museum, and no mummy was ever located on the Titanic. It was an iceberg, not a curse, that sank the Titanic.
I wonder if the curse made the iceberg in the way of the Titanic, though. I'm just still thinking, going back to this guy, that he knew that there was something going on. There was like...
Wait, so did he know about the artifacts, or is someone now after the fact saying, oh, there's this guy who knew about... There's this guy who had a conspiracy that it was haunted, and there were also potentially Egyptian stuff on the ship. So therefore, there must have been a mummy. So these are like multiple things put together. It's not just like from the one guy.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, wait, so there's multiple
then they tried to make connections. No. One guy said there was a mummy. Then people from articles and from the newspaper started to gather information from this and put out stuff saying that the mummy's in a museum and the mummy wasn't on the ship because they never located it. So, yeah.
So it's kind of like a game of telephone where it's like, I heard this from somebody.
Interesting. Yeah, I could understand people thinking that there's some sort of supernatural-esque thing that sunk the Titanic or some other reason besides like kind of coincidence of an iceberg. Like that seems like I mean, it's not that it seems like a reasonable conspiracy theory, but like I can vibe with it. I can understand why. But it's just interesting that like it's not like you hear people nowadays going, "Oh, that Carnival Cruise Line, yeah, there's a mummy on it." Like it's like no one's predicting that ships are going to sink anymore. It's not like a common thing.
Yeah.
Is that all that you have about the mummy for now?
Yeah, so that's all I have about the mummy. So now we're on to the next one.
All right,
to the second
next
one.
conspiracy theory about Titanic. Hit us.
I cannot wait for the second
one
after the first one.
What is it?
Okay, so this one's kind of more recent. I think I found a video on this.
Good.
On
I'm tired about outdated conspiracy theories from the Titanic. Let's get it more recent.
This is like more recent. It's like 2017 kind of.
Oh, that's pretty recent.
Oh, that is recent.
Stuff and kind
that's
of
really recent.
Yeah.
Exactly, right?
What is it?
So the second one is that there was a fire in the coal bunker approximately 10 days prior to the ship's departure, and it continued to burn for several days into the voyage, which you can imagine was not a good thing. Now, these fires did occur frequently because there was a lot of spontaneous combustion of coal, so you never really knew when a fire was going to happen. This event has led some authors to theorize that the fire exacerbated the effects of the iceberg collision by reducing the structural integrity of the hull and critical bulkhead. So basically, the fire kind of had an effect and an impact on the iceberg.
Did they say that coal would start like lighting up on fire out of nowhere? Like, is that like a documented thing that coal does that?
I did find that coal does combust spontaneously.
Yeah.
So I can see that would be a thing.
So then in 2011, an author named David J. H. Smith put forward this idea into his book, The Titanic's Mummy.
Whoa.
It was
Wait, so this has to do with the other
that was
conspiracy?
just the name of his book. Well, no, this was in his mummy book, I guess, because they
Oh,
might have blanked.
did he
Yeah.
write a
He might
whole
have done a
book about how
conspiracy
he
book.
thinks that the Titanic had a mummy curse, or just mummy curses in general?
I didn't really look into his book, so I don't really know. I should have
Alright.
looked into that, but I don't know exactly what his book is about. Anyway, it's stated that the bunker fire was at the heart of the eventual disaster, claiming that decisions made because of the blaze led it to a collision course with the iceberg. So,
Okay.
Well, I can see how, like you were saying earlier, that like the coal fire would like weaken the structure of the ship, which means that it would, if it struck the iceberg.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it hit the iceberg, then the ship would like have a
If
hole
the
in it.
iceberg
Which
hit
makes
exactly where that fire was, where it weakened the spot.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was steered by a mummy. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we got fire and mummy, all very realistic things.
But then another author kind of countered that and said that the bunker fire would not have weakened the watertight bulkhead sufficiently to cause it to collapse. So basically, whatever David's theory was wrong, because that was not true. Also, it has been suggested that the coal bunker fire actually helped Titanic to last longer during the sinking and prevented the ship from rolling over to starboard after the impact.
Oh,
So he's saying that the
So
fire
basically-
helped? It not
Helped reduce the speed of the sinking.
don't I feel like a fool?
I mean, we already know that. How many people did, like, everyone die on the Titanic, or did like most people die?
A lot of people, like half of them.
Huh.
And as you know, back then they only really allowed women and children to get onto the lifeboat. So a lot of males went down. Some made it,
Oh,
but
jeez.
some
Well,
not.
that's not
Not a lot.
that's not
Women and
swell.
children first. Yeah.
I mean, if you've
Yeah.
ever met men, I can understand why they wouldn't want them to live. I get it. Yeah, that's reasonable.
But so now this one, I just want to add something interesting in. It's not really a conspiracy yet, but I feel like it's something to kind of keep in mind. And that was the size of the gash on the Titanic. So the night of April 14th, 1912, and I quote from a video, there were 6 iceberg warning messages sent to Captain Edward John Smith, and he tried to adjust the ship's course southward, but did not slow down the speed of the ship. And by the time it took for Lookout to spot the iceberg, it was too late. So, I mean, he
so
changed the course, but
did
didn't slow down.
Why did he need to change the course? Did they know there was something?
To try, he got the 6 iceberg warnings, but he was like, "Oh, I'll just adjust the course and we can keep at speed."
Yeah. So
Which,
it was that he didn't slow down.
It happened exactly, and it
Gotcha.
happened late at night. You can't see. I think it was a little foggy then as well. I'm not sure what the exact weather was. Yeah.
It's a bummer how much could have been prevented with this
Right.
ship.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the reasons why it's probably has so many conspiracy theories surrounding it, because like it was almost like there was a lot of coincidences.
Mhm.
It should have.
Yeah.
There are so many
That
reasons
this
why
could
it shouldn't have
happen.
happened, and yet it still happened.
There are just a whole lot of things could have gone into the sinking. But then an official accident report came out, and it suggested that the iceberg tore a gigantic 300-foot gash onto the ship's starboard side, which I didn't know, but learned that that was the right side of the ship. This 300-foot gash literally ripped over 1/3 of her entire hull. But eyewitnesses say it took over 2 hours for the sink to ship, and this confuses experts because they believe that a hole that size would have caused the Titanic to sink much faster.
So there's conflicting reports on how big the gash was.
Yeah.
Oh, so is this a conspiracy saying that the gash wasn't that big?
Well, that, like, the theory is kind of like, well, this isn't really a theory, like I said, it's kind of just something that I thought you should, like,
just
have in your mind.
Note,
that if this hole was so big, then wouldn't it have caused the ship to sink faster than
You want to know? You want to know why it didn't sink so fast? It was the mummy.
It was the mummy. No,
the mummy wasn't a curse. It helped maybe.
It was prolonged death. Chris is a big fan of the mummy. He's really rooting for it.
I love the mummy. No, I think he's onto something.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll see it come back from the mummy. Leah, do you have any other conspiracy theories? I think we should piece all of these together to make our own theory about what happened. Do you have any other insight to add?
So the next conspiracy theory is that the Titanic never sank.
Oh, that's
what?
Wow. Now you're dropping a
I want
bomb
to hear
on
this.
us.
Now I'm dropping like, whoo.
Dropping icebergs. Why? Tell us more.
So this one is actually really interesting, and it's all over the internet, But just to refresh, this conspiracy theory is one of the Titanic's most popular because of the fact that it might include a possible insurance fraud story.
I love
this this one states that someone switched the Titanic with another White Star Line ship, the RMS Olympic. And for those of you who don't know, there were 3 sister ships out of the Titanic: the Olympic, the Titanic, and the Britannic. And I think they were all RMS White Star Line. So the theory starts with the fact that the Olympic was damaged while sailing from Southampton, England to New York in September 1911 and had to be returned for repairs. After repairing the Olympic, it set sail again to New York and back. It returned for more repairs in March 1912, a few weeks later before the Titanic set sail. The conspiracy theory claims that some person or people found the Olympic too severely damaged to be profitable, and so at some point switched it with the Titanic to purposefully ditch the damaged ship, gather the insurance money, and it seems kill a bunch of people in the process. There are a lot of gray spots in this theory, but one of the biggest is the Titanic's insurance wasn't enough to cover the Olympics loss.
So when did the Titanic set sail? What year was that? Was it 1909, did you say, or was it early, or was it 1913?
1912.
1912. So the Olympics set sail before the Titanic. And so basically the Olympics set sail and it wasn't doing too great. So they're like, all right, let's put the ship that's hurt and replace it with Titanic so that theoretically Olympics doing good, but then, the Titanic, in quotes, crashed. That's interesting. When you first said that the Titanic never crashed or whatever, that was not what I was expecting.
Yeah, like I said, this one is the one that was honestly on every single website that I found, on every single video. It was it's honestly pretty insane.
If there's like 3 identical ships, yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem not believable. I mean, we're pretty set on the mummy theory, but I think this one's got some legs.
This one definitely, I mean, people have done some pretty shady stuff in the past. I mean, it's not like this killing people on a ship to get some money is not out of the realm of possibility for what some mean people in the world would do. I still think the mummy theory is better, but...
I mean, of course. The mummy theory, for sure.
And I mean, honestly, so I actually now just searched up the picture of the RMS Olympic and the RMS Titanic. Both of them look extremely similar. They're all... The bottom part of the ship is painted black, but the Britannic looks very different. It kind of has a white base with black stripes. So I could see how people would think, the Olympic and the Titanic, they were all switched.
This was also well before the internet or cell phones. So it's really like, if someone was like, hey, that's the Titanic, like, what are people going to be like? Like, I tweeted about the Titanic earlier. I'm pretty sure that's the Olympic. Like, people, what are they going to say?
Actually.
All right, okay. I'm sure that's right. Like, I have no evidence to prove it wrong.
Yeah, so this one was really cool, and especially it was really fun to do this type of podcast just because I'm a huge Titanic fan, and my uncle actually auctioned off, he's an auctioneer, so he auctioned off a few things from the Titanic, which sadly I couldn't get my hands on.
Did you get the Egyptian artifact? You have the curse now?
I don't think so.
Is that all of your theories?
Yeah, that's all my theories.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I think, here's my theory about what happened with the Titanic, which you guys feel free to tack on some details. So I think combining all of those, they made all the different ships. Olympic wasn't doing too great. So then they were like, swap them. But I think the Olympic had the mummy curse. And I think they had to go, all right, let's, because theoretically then, if you think the Titanic had the mummy curse, and that might have been the Olympic, then maybe the Olympic had the mummy curse and the Titanic was fine, was vibing. I want to know what happened to the Olympic ship. Like, did the Olympic succeed? Do you know? I assume it must have.
I didn't find anything like that.
Unless they just canceled the voyage. But I feel like you don't hear about the other ships. You just hear about the Titanic. The Titanic gets all the attention. Chris, what do you think?
I'm thinking that something has to do with the captain, because he had warnings about icebergs, but he kept going like full speed.
Yeah, all the insurance stuff too. Mm-hmm. Like, that seems pretty.
Yeah,
that's pretty.
Like,
sus.
It seems like he could have got a pretty big payoff with. I mean, no disrespect to the captain. I'm not making any assumptions that
he's going to be so mad when he hears this, Chris. He is going to be
when he's living in Argentina.
Yes.
Wow, no, Chris, you're going against me.
I mean, but like, he must have been like in cahoots with like some insurance thing, because he had warnings, and
Someone
took
must have
lifeboats
profited.
off the ship. Something was up. Yeah.
I mean, I feel bad for the guy. I mean, he did get 6 warnings prior to it all happening, so I mean, some of it kind of falls on him not, really changing the ship's course and really slowing down the ship, especially at night and when you can't see anything in front of you, and especially in an iceberg area. Like,
And then the
wouldn't you
fog
want
and
to slow down
everything, yeah.
in fog? I'm not sure about the fog, but I'm like,
Well, it's
No,
like,
I think it was foggy. I mean, it
I
was
thought it was kind of
the
foggy
cold
too.
water. Yeah.
yeah. It's like when you're driving down, like, and it's raining or, like, foggy, you're not, like, and if Google Maps
when
is
you
like,
drive
hey,
down from
there's going to be
school.
like a turn or like there's an iceberg in the road, I'm not going to be like, you know what? I'm going to turn my steering wheel a little bit and maybe we'll get around it. I'm going to slow down.
And I'm going to keep the
maybe
same
go down a different
speed.
street. I'm not going to be like, got to keep zooming down this back road at 65 miles an hour.
I honestly really like Gavin. I think your theory is super cool. I actually didn't really think to put 2 and 2 together, but
yeah,
I kind of like yours.
I want to know,
really
like, did the same people create these 3 ships, or like architects, like the same companies? Like, I mean, you said they were like sister ships.
The same companies did, because the RMS company, the White Star Line RMS company, did create the 3 ships. But like I said, the Olympic and the Titanic were the most 2 similar looking, so it would make it very easy for them to switcheroo.
I just thought of another conspiracy theory. What if the whole thing was an insurance scam? You make 3 ships, have one gets damaged. You're like, oh, well, we got 3 ships. Let's replace this one with Titanic and sink it. You got to do that for, to keep the feds off your back. Make one ship different. If you make them all 3 the same, then people are going to be like,
people are going to be suspicious that it's replaceable.
Yeah, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Like, for as much as there's the legacy of what the 3 ships could have been, I feel like no one does anything for legacy anymore. Like, someone must have profited off of it. No one, it can't have been a total loss. And also, didn't a company end up building like a Titanic 2 or something like that then tried to make a voyage?
Yeah, I did hear that there was going to be maybe possibility a Titanic 2 that was going to launch sometime this year or next year. I'm not sure. I will actually double fact.
Probably not anymore because of, the pandemic, but who knows?
Yeah. I also will not be buying a ticket to that.
No,
cruise.
Who would? Like, they need to pay people to ride that ship. They need, like, hella lifeboats. They need, like, more than enough lifeboats. They need enough lifeboats for people to be able to social distance on the lifeboats.
No. Gavin, you don't want it to look too cluttered, so I think 20 is going to be okay.
You're right. Especially, yeah, exactly.
I found something from Thrillist.com. I don't know how accurate they are, but the Titanic 2, which is really what it is going to be called, is going to set sail in 2022. Titanic 2 will reportedly have the same cabin layout as the one that was temporarily stored in Davy Jones' locker, and will carry 2,400 passengers and 900 crew members, almost exactly the same number as the original. I really hope they keep the lifeboats though, because
that's a good idea. Don't learn from your mistakes. Keep everything the same.
So let me get this straight. So they're going, the first one crashed and a ton of people died. So why don't we make the exact same ship and have everything be the exact same, and maybe
they're like, let's just try it one more time. Like, I know it didn't end well that time, but James Cameron might be able to make another movie about this one. Maybe it'll make it this time.
And also,
I like the idea that they're trying to make the Titanic 2, but I think you can't,
it's got bad juju. It's got bad vibes.
Yeah,
what if there's a new mummy?
And something horrible just came out of the first one. Like, kind of have some respect towards, I get you're trying to incorporate history into a new ship and stuff like that, but at the same time, you gotta have respect, man.
Yeah, I'm not in love with the idea of a Titanic 2.
Yeah, I'm not on board with that. I mean, it's cool, but I don't think I'm literally on board for that. I did not mean to do that at first. I was like, wait, this is so good.
Hey, whatever floats your boat.
I guess, should we just toss the outro right into this? We can toss the outro right into this.
Yeah.
I'm Gavin.
I'm Leah.
And I'm Chris.
And this has been Conspiracy Theories. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week with something new, probably. Who knows what we'll talk about? Maybe another conspiracy theory, and maybe some more wacky laws like last week. But, maybe next time we'll think of a better outro. Maybe we should come up with a tagline. We'll do that. It'll be great. Have a good one.
Next week.
That'll be next week.
Want more of This Strange World? You can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts, and you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at This Strange World Podcast and on Twitter at This Strange Pod.
Leah, tell us where you got some of your information from today. Or actually, tell us where you got all of your information from today so we don't get screwed. Not some of it. Please list in detail where you got this from.
So the Mummy Curse one, that was from the History Channel on their website, and it was called The Craziest Titanic Conspiracy Theories Explained. The second conspiracy theory that I list, the size of the gash, that was actually from YouTube, but part of the History Channel's YouTube. The Titanic Never Sank conspiracy theory was also from the History Channel, and
Thank you, History Channel.
We love the History Channel, guys.
the fire in the coal bunker conspiracy theory was from a Wikipedia RMS Titanic conspiracy theories.
Ooh, we also love
Wikipedia.
Wikipedia.
Nice source.
We love that.
I like Wikipedia.
Well, great. Well,
Wait, so the same people that came up with the mummy conspiracy was the same people that made the Ancient Aliens show, and the same people that do like the Finding Bigfoot shows.
that's a lot of conspiracies. Now we're just going into a hole of conspiracies with Chris.
This
People have
entire
fun.
podcast is actually a conspiracy. It's a big insurance fraud.
This is all an insurance fraud.